So, a couple of hours ago, Capcom has released its fiscal year report ending 31st March 2022. So yeah, here we go. Resident Evil Village has sold over 6.1 million units. Monster Hunter Rise sold an additional 4.1 million units during the last fiscal year. Probably sold a ton more this year. Good numbers, obviously. Now here's the interesting bit, the very interesting bit. Capcom said that it will be releasing multiple new titles by the 31st of March of next year, 2023, and plans to release a total of 45 SKUs, selling 37 million units total. 10 million from the new stuff, and the rest of the numbers, 27 from the back catalog. You're talking about your Resident Evils, all the Resident Evils basically, all the Resident Evils. So let's list down the titles that are coming out from right now till next March. So we've got the Capcom Fighting Collection that's coming out in June, looks pretty awesome. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, Capcom Arcade Second Stadium, Resident Evil Reverse. I didn't know that was still a thing, but yeah, sure, why the fuck not. Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 for PS5 and Xbox Series. Resident Evil 7, Exo Primal, that multiplayer Dino Crisis-like game with the spacesuits, the robots, the jetpacks, and the dinosaurs, the multitude of dinosaurs. I think it's going to be like a nice comeback to Lost Planet, but you know, good. And Pragmata, which is that Spaceman trailer thing that happened. I have no idea what the hell that game is, but you know what? Sure, bring it on, bring it on. That is coming out in 2023. The takeaway from all this, especially when you saw the headline, which I'm alluding to that, is, yeah, Street Fighter 6. Is it gonna come out before March 31st, 2022? Hell no, I don't think it's going to be. Based on fighting game history, especially with Capcom's side, they have made quite a number of blunders in the HD era, which is the PS3, the Xbox 360 era. When Street Fighter 4 did very well, Marvel vs. Capcom came out the following year or the year after that. And then a few months later, yeah, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out. And then a slew of other fighting games from Capcom came out. I mean, there's a couple. I mean, there's even they wanted to do a Darkstalkers that got cancelled because of the failures of Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which is supposed to be their big break, like to beat off Street Fighter 4, but yeah, that was a very expensive project. I think a lot of other videos out there have covered this topic extensively, why it failed or whatnot. My takeaway of this is because of that whole Yoshinori Ono era of fighting games, especially with Street Fighter 5, terrible Season 1 and Season 2 showing where the roster was bare bones. The roster was bare bones, the game modes were bare bones. You only got like a versus mode, you got online and a stupid ass survival thing which was really, really hard to grind for. With all the other good content coming in years later, yeah, I don't know why the hell you want to release Street Fighter 6 as soon as possible. Especially if we're gonna see it at this year's EVO in its playable form. If you announce certain characters and you're gonna bring in new characters, by the way, you gotta try to beat the roster that came out before it. You know, like Street Fighter 5 has like, crap, I forgot how many characters, but it was a lot. It was about 30, 40 or so, but they're all great. I mean, Street Fighter 5 is great now, but it took 6 years to get there. That is coming from a company that's been doing fighting games and setting the standard for 2D fighting games for so long. That is embarrassing. But anyway, that was then. This is now. Street Fighter 6 is not going to come out on the 31st of March 2022. If it is, it better be better than Season 3, 4, and 5 of Street Fighter 5 combined. It better be the best version it can be. Because at the end of the day, people are going to talk. You know, I had a couple of friends who, I keep telling them, yeah, Street Fighter 5 is better and better, but they were so burnt out and they were so betrayed by Street Fighter 5's Season 1 and Season 2 launch that they just focused on other better fighting games. Like, I think you got Guilty Gear Xrd, they played that game, and Dragon Ball FighterZ instead, and Tekken 7 instead. They just ignored Street Fighter 5 because of the trust and goodwill that Capcom has destroyed for its fan base. I mean, yeah, they got it back eventually. I mean, after ousting out certain key people in Capcom, I think they did a better job. I mean, again, I like Street Fighter 5 in its current state right now. It's the most balanced version right now, despite people talking about Luke. But still, 6 years to get there, it's pretty messed up. So to have Street Fighter 6 come out in the same state as Season 1, Season 2, Street Fighter 5 by 31st March, that is not the way to do it, guys. You know better. You've been doing this for years. This is your big opus thing. You want... Okay, and you know what? I'm just going to bring it down here to just one bit on this article. So yeah, you see these top titles here, these 4 titles. Yeah, Street Fighter 5 is nowhere there, and that game has been running around for 6 years. So these are the sales numbers that all the other Capcom franchises have garnered. Resident Evil Village, Monster Hunter Stories, the Monster Hunter spin-off, the main Monster Hunter game, Resident Evil 7, an old-ass game, by the way, which is just being ported, you know, which is getting some fluctuation recently because people like Resident Evil Village. They wanted to, you know, go back to the last game. Yeah, it's just sad that one of Capcom's flagship 2D fighting games is, you know, running behind. Like, so totally behind. So, Street Fighter 6 is going to be that game that will bring back that zeitgeist that Street Fighter 4 had back in 2008, 9, and 10. Around that period, basically. 2009. But yeah, it needs to take its time. It needs to cook slowly, properly in the oven. Make sure that it's a full-fledged game with versus, offline, online. A solid roster. Doesn't have to be super big like King of Fighters. It just has to be, you know, a roster that means a lot, as well as a pretty nifty system. Maybe take what you've learned from the V trigger and the V system and make it, you know, Part 6 flavored. You know, make it better. Make it half offensive. Make it more footsies based and footsies oriented. You know, again, go back to basics, but make it slightly advanced. A solid roster. And yeah, I know this is a lot to ask, but maybe bring back a single player mode that is very deep and also, you know, would cater for both casual and hardcore players. Like, I believe some games like Grand Blue Fantasy and I think that's about it. Or even Soul Calibur 6. They did a good job with the single player mode, but I believe the best one has always been either Rival Schools single player mode in the Japanese version or Street Fighter Alpha 3's console ports where they had this World Tour mode where obviously the last boss is M. Bison, Dictator, super powered Dictator. I think they probably got him from the Marvel version of Dictator, and you gotta basically level up the character you selected to beef him up and make him better. You can also set up a little checklist, you know, make him more offensive or defensive and put in some buffs here and there. Do that. All you need to do is just do that. You can reuse assets for that from Street Fighter 6. Hell, if you can, just bring back assets from Part 4, Part 5, cram it in somehow. I don't know, as long as, you know, it's using the Resident Evil engine, so I think you have to make new assets, but at the same time, again, you need to make this launch version of Street Fighter 6 stick. So if you have to take till 2024, please, by all means, do it. We can wait. There are other fighting games we can play at this point in time. There's a couple more. There's probably going to be another Tekken game. There's going to be Dungeon Fighter Online, the fighting game. DNF Duel. You've got like Guilty Gear Strive's second season. And a lot of other games that were, you know, they came out in the HD era and then now they're back in rollback form. So yeah, hell, you know what? Just wait till Harada adds in rollback for Tekken 6. Then, yeah, release Street Fighter 6. Show everyone why you were the kings of this in the first place. Don't do what you did in Street Fighter 5. That's all. Take your time. You can wait. We're patient. Because the last thing you want is history repeating itself. And that's it. You know, you like this video, you like all the videos we do, just like and subscribe, hit and smash that notification icon. Until then, live and let die. Fight!